It's funny how the moments that change your life don't always announce themselves. You know what I mean? No sirens, no dramatic music, no warning label slapped on the front of the day. Sometimes it starts with nothing more than a bored cop, a quiet parking lot, and a bad assumption that should have stayed inside someone's head. That's how it began for me, and yeah, that happened. I was sitting in my car on a Tuesday afternoon, the kind of Tuesday nobody remembers unless something goes wrong, sun out, air calm. My car plugged into a charging station behind a shopping plaza that smells faintly like pretzels and car wax. I had my laptop open on my lap, tie loosened jacket folded on the passenger seat, just catching up on work while the battery ticked its way up. No music blasting, no phone calls, no sketchy behavior, just me and a screen full of legal text that probably would have bored most people to tears. And honestly, I was relaxed, calm, one of those rare moments where your shoulders drop and your brain finally slows down. Then I noticed the patrol car. At first it was nothing. Just another vehicle rolling through tires, crunching over gravel engine, humming low. But it didn't keep rolling. It slowed, stopped, and stayed there a little too long. I felt it before I saw it, that weird pressure you get when someone's staring at you like the air tightens for no reason. I looked up and there he was, sunglasses on arm resting out the window, eyes locked on me like I'd personally offended him by existing. The door slammed. Loud. Intentionally loud. Boots hit the pavement hard, each step exaggerated like he wanted the ground to know who was in charge. I remember thinking, here we go, because when you've lived long enough in this country, you learn to recognize the beginning of certain stories. He tapped on my window, not a polite knock, more like a command. I cracked it a few inches, just enough to talk, just enough to stay within my rights. "Afternoon, officer," I said, steady, neutral, polite. "Everything okay?" He leaned in close, too close, sniffed the air like a cartoon detective and said, "Smells like marijuana in here." I almost laughed, almost. Instead, I blinked and said, "That's strange because I don't smoke." His jaw tightened and I could see it even through the shades. Step out of the vehicle. Now here's where things matter. I didn't refuse. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't make any sudden movements. I asked one question, the same question I've seen asked in courtrooms 1,000 times. Can you tell me why? That question hit him like an insult, like I'd slapped his authority instead of his ego. Because I said so, he snapped. I took a breath. Slow. Deliberate. With respect, that's not a lawful reason. If there's probable cause, I'm happy to cooperate. Probable cause. 2 words. That's all it took. You could feel the shift like a storm rolling in without warning. His posture stiffened. His voice dropped and suddenly this wasn't about anything real anymore. "You trying to get smart with me?" he said. "No," I replied. "I'm trying to follow the law." What he didn't know, what he couldn't see through his assumptions, was who I actually was. I wasn't just some guy killing time. I wasn't a tech bro dodging emails or a salesman waiting on a call. I was a federal judge, and I'd spent my entire adult life inside the law defending it, questioning it, holding it together when other people tried to bend it until it broke. The document open on my screen wasn't casual reading. It was sealed, sensitive. The early foundation of an investigation into systemic misconduct, the kind that makes people in uniform nervous when it comes to light. But I didn't tell him that. I didn't flash a badge. I didn't say a word about my title. I stayed calm. Because I've seen what happens when people without power get tested by moments like this. I've read the transcripts, I've watched the footage, I've listened to the apologies that come too late. And part of me, maybe a stubborn part, wanted to see what he'd do when the law was the only thing standing between his authority and his impulse. Turns out the law didn't stand very tall for him. "Last chance," he said, hand hovering near his belt. "Step out." Not without a lawful reason, I answered, my voice steady, even though my pulse had picked up. That was it. He yanked the door open so hard it rocked the car, and before I could even process what was happening, pain exploded across my face. Pepper spray. Full blast. Inside the car. It burned like fire, like my eyes were being scraped raw from the inside out. I gasped, coughed, hands flying up instinctively, lungs seizing as the air filled with chemical heat. I heard him shouting, "Stop resisting," even though I wasn't resisting anything. He reached in, ripped the seatbelt loose, dragged me out like I weighed nothing, and slammed me onto the pavement. My suit scraped against the concrete, my cheek hit hard, and I remember thinking, this is how it happens. This is how a story gets written without your consent. He dropped a knee into my back, pressed my face into the ground, and hissed something I'll never forget. "You think you're special," he said. "You think that car makes you somebody?" I couldn't answer. I could barely breathe. What he didn't think about, what he completely forgot in his little performance of power, was the car itself. Because modern cars don't forget. They don't blink. Cameras everywhere, always watching, recording every angle, every movement, every word. While he was busy building a lie out loud, the truth was being saved quietly, frame by frame, somewhere he couldn't touch it. When the sirens came, he jumped up fast, chest heaving, adrenaline still running the show. Backup arrived and he started talking immediately, loud and confident, spinning the story before anyone else could. He resisted, he said. Went for something. I neutralized him. The supervisor stepped out of the lead car, scanned the scene, and then froze. I saw his face change from authority to fear in about half a second. He rushed over, shoved the officer aside, and knelt next to me. "Get away from him," he barked, "right now." The officer looked confused, offended even. "Sir, he's a suspect." The supervisor ignored him, picked up my wallet from the ground, opened it, and went pale. I didn't need to see it to know what he saw. I heard the way his voice cracked when he said my name. In that moment, everything flipped. The noise faded, the adrenaline drained from the officer's face, and reality hit him like a wall. He stepped back, stumbled a little, hands shaking, eyes wide. I pushed myself up slowly, eyes burning, voice rough but clear. "I want his badge," I said, "and I want federal agents notified immediately." From there, things moved fast, and not in his favor. Federal investigators don't knock politely. They don't ask for favors. They arrive with boxes and warrants and a kind of silence that makes people nervous. Servers were seized, body cam footage, locked down reports, pulled apart line by line. And then there was the video. Every second contradicted his story. My hands visible, my voice calm, no resistance, no threat. Just one man escalating because he thought he could. But it didn't stop with me. Digging deeper, uncovered patterns, the kind you can't explain away as a bad day. Same excuses, same language, same outcomes. Stops that turned into searches that turned into force that always somehow justified itself on paper, until it couldn't. Old complaints resurfaced, dismissed cases reopened. People who'd swallowed injustice just to survive were suddenly being called back, told their experiences mattered. He wasn't unlucky, he was consistent. The courtroom was quiet on sentencing day. No uniform, just an orange jumpsuit, chains clinking softly as he walked. He never looked at me, and I don't think I would have recognized the man he'd become if I hadn't been there that day. The verdict came quickly. Guilty on all counts. Civil rights violations, assault, falsifying records, 15 years in federal prison, no parole. The city settled the civil case for millions, issued apologies that sounded hollow even as they echoed across press conferences. Then I did the one thing nobody expected. I stood outside that courthouse, microphones in my face, eyes still healing, and announced that every dollar of that settlement would fund legal defense for victims of police abuse who couldn't afford representation. Not for revenge, not for headlines, for change. Because here's the truth. Ending it early would have protected me, sure. Flashing my badge would have saved me pain. But letting it play out exposed something bigger than my own moment. So I'll ask you this. Was staying calm the right move, or should self-protection always come first? Where do you draw the line between patience and survival, between trusting the system and knowing when it's already failed you? Drop your thoughts below. Tell me what you've seen, what you've lived, what you believe justice should look like. And if this story hits something real for you, hit that like button. Share it with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe for more stories that remind us the camera doesn't lie, and neither should we.